Welcome back, everyone. We're working on our mobile-first responsive navbar. And we're getting really close to having things styled the way we want. And I'm not saying this is the best color or I've got the nicest looking navbar menu. But we already got it so that on a mobile display, all of the buttons work vertically. We do want to make it so that when we expand a nested list, we want to style that a little different so that it looks a little better. And then once we do that, then we're going to work on adding a little toggle button that will allow us to expand or collapse that menu when we're in mobile view. So here's full screen. Notice when we hover over, we've got this. Now, since it's mobile first, we're dealing with mobile before we deal with anything else. So we want to start with this at this size. And let's just go ahead and fix our nested list. And so in order to style that, best thing to do is open up your developer tool, typing F12. And then you want to inspect the element where there is a basically a list item. If you look here, it says page item has children. So we want to target the UL that's under that. And so a couple things that we want to do is I'm going to click on here and I'm going to check this hover and toggle hover so that we can replicate what it's like when we're hovering over that list item. So now we've got these here so we can start styling these links. So we can just go ahead and we can click on this. We expand that out a little bit, click on our first list item, and then we also have hyperlinks inside. So we want to target any of the hyperlinks that happen to be inside of the list item. Also, we want to target the UL. One of the things that we may want to do is make our list items that are inside, give them a little bit of padding on the left to move them over. Before we do that, let's go ahead and add some padding to this hyperlink. Notice it's a hyperlink that's inside of a UL with the class of children. So what we can do is click the new style rule just to see. And right there, it wants to style all hyperlinks. Well, that's not what we want to do. So we're just going to put .children space, and then we'll just put A. And so that would be any nested link inside. And so let's just go ahead and add some padding around it. And then we'll just put a 1 EM padding around. And interesting, I'd like a little bit more on the top. And it's not actually doing that. I'm not seeing this padding affect anything. So I think we might have an issue with the height. So notice height, it says it's auto. So we should probably adjust that. I'm going to go back to 1 EM and give it a height of, let's just try 1.5 EM and see if that does anything. No, I think we're going to have to deal with the list items in addition. So part of this is just experimentation. I'm going to keep that available, and then I'm just going to click on here, and now we're going to say .children space LI, and I don't need all that other class on there. Oh, I misspelled children. That's not a good idea. I'm doing it for the children, so, you know. Okay, maybe not. Height. I don't know, let's try 1 EM. Okay, let's try 2 EMs. 3. I'll try 2. Let's go back to the hyperlinks. Oh, one other thing is we need to get rid of, on the hover, we're getting these, the underlines going on there. So let's see what's happening with that. So we're going to click on this and trigger its hover. And that's not, maybe it's the hyperlink hover state. Yeah, okay. So you see how we do, we just kind of click a tag here, check hover. We're trying to find out, you know, where this is happening. Text decoration, underline. I don't want that in my navbar. So that, since that is the A, that's good. We can click on here, scroll up to the top, and we see that .children A. We can add our text decoration of none. And it looks like it's gone. Yeah. All right, text decoration of none. We're having a couple of issues here with height and some of those things. So I like to hover over those using this little inspector and to see what's going on with our list item. When I click it, it looks like it is 28 pixels tall. And I'm going to hover over the UL. What is going on here? Okay, I paused the video and just did some playing around for a while. It took me a while to get there, but I kind of like what I'm seeing here. The links are tabbed over a little bit, so we know that's a nested list. We haven't styled it everything that we want to do, but I think the way they're laid out on here, that's going to work. So we got to like figure out everything that we did. So I'm going to backtrack a little bit on here, and I believe the first thing we styled was the UL. And on here, you see this LI hover UL. We have an opacity of 1, height of auto. I think that was already set. So then we look in the list item, and we have this dot children LI with the height of auto, a padding of 1 EM. So I'm going to go ahead and add that to my styles. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to go back to my navigation style sheet, and we're talking about in the mobile view. And I forget exactly which one I was doing here. Dot children LI. So it's the LI inside of children. And we might have to have the, yeah, that's when we are hovering over the list item. So we need to add one more piece here, the LI hover to that style there. So when we're hovering over the list item that are children will get a height of auto padding of 1 EM. And then we need to look at the hyperlinks inside. And we added this right here. Hold on. And we look, I don't see any of the ones that LI hover with and hyperlink. So we're going to also style this here. We'll do it right after this line. Here, let me zoom in on here so you can see that a little better. Hopefully this will all work. I'm going to save our changes, and if it doesn't, then we have to start over. But I just wanted to show you, I start with the UL, then the LI, then the anchor, because I like to do them in order of how they're nested. Makes it a little bit easier to spot, identify, and see what's going on. We're going to hit refresh. All of our hovers will be not hovering. And of course, now that I'm hovering over it, it is not expanding. So there was one other little trick we got to do. I think it has to do with specificity. And that is making sure that you've got enough targeted for this to work. So I'm going to put UL in front of the dot children. Save my changes. See if that helps any. And it's not. Okay, I turned off the developer tool, and now when I hover, we're getting a little bit better effect on there. So now what we want to do is we can add borders around these, and we can add hover effects and other items. So I'm going to get the F12, the developer tool, open again. And then we want to just trigger that hover effect so we can now style it. So I click on the list item, I click where it says hover, and I trigger hover. So that's all triggered, and now I go over here, and I want to make sure I can have border around everything. So let's go ahead and add a border to this. So add a little border color there. That's working. I noticed with this padding the way it is, there's actually, these links are wider and take up more space than the other. So we're going to have to adjust that right here. And they're a little bit smaller. They're tabbed over. I can try fiddling with these numbers until they look about the same size. By putting a 1 EM there, it expands them over to the right a little bit. So at this point, I think we can play around with some of this. So I'm just going to add this to what we just did. And we had, so we're just going to remove right here. That's the one I want to replace. Oh, I accidentally copied that. Okay. Save our changes. Turn off the developer tool. And refresh. There we go. Now, the only other thing we can do is we can play around with the hover effect. Now, notice what happens in level 2. This is already expanded out. So we're going to want to adjust that briefly. Okay, see, what's happening here is when I hover over level 1, this list item, then not only is level 2 getting its padding, but so are the nested list items under there. So what we really are trying to do is not trigger every single list item when we are hovering. And if you look right here, this is what I'm referring to. So this is just saying when you hover over a list item, any unordered list with a class of children that has, any list item inside of an unordered list with children will get this. So we want to target only the direct descendant of the list item that is being hovered. Okay, so what we do is there's a thing, it's called a child combinator selector. Very fancy word. And it is the angle bracket like so. And what we're saying here is it only passes down to its direct descendant, only the direct children of this list item being hovered. Okay, so when we save our changes, so we got to do it for every one of these hover effects. So we're saying when we hover over a list item, the very direct unordered list with a class of children will get an opacity of 1, a height of auto. And same thing for the list item, it will get that height, padding, and border. And for the hyperlink, it will get a padding, a height, and a text decoration. And of course, you can mess with this stuff also. We save our changes, and then we want to go back to the page and hit refresh. Let's just see if this is working now. That works. Level 1, notice when I hover over it, we see nothing under level 2, but as soon as I go under level 2, then that branches out. So I think at this point, as far as hover effect goes, we're pretty much where we want to be on this nav bar. Now, I'm not saying this is styled the way I would want to leave it, but at least at this point, you see all of the different techniques we are doing to target our pages, our children, and all that stuff. So let me just kind of go back here and just kind of refresh what we did here. Same thing we did on this. We use that direct descendant there. And then we hide our nested links in the nav bar. So anything with the UL of children has an opacity of 0, height of 0. Now it was animating, and I kind of didn't like that animation, so I'm going to pull that out. And then we have the rest here. So this is primarily the work that we did today. So with some styling and some other things like that, I'm going to save my changes one last time. And let's see what it's like without an animation and see if that performs any better. Yeah, I kind of like it. I mean, some of you may like the animation, and now you know how to put it in. So this is it without the animation, and here we are with the animation. So on the next tutorial, we're going to focus on adding a responsive menu toggle button that allows you to, when you click it, it'll expand the menu. So those with mobile devices, they won't have mice, so they're going to have to actually touch the screen. And so hover effect doesn't work with screen touch. So we must account for it instead of hover by doing toggle. So stay tuned for that.